we listened to... Okay.
Saying the name will be the biggest challenge of the day.
Right. Let's see. Mestarin Kynsi. I think by
It's close. Sure.
Oranssi Pazuzu. Let's see. There we are. Let's see. I picked the album this week. Literally all I did. This was my thought process behind the album selection. I Google searched best black metal album 2020, and then I just scrolled, found some random blog, and this was their number one. So I was like, okay, let's listen to it. That was pretty much it. I'd never heard of this band.
And it's interesting how you found it, because I was thinking, how would I classify the genre of this music while I was listening? And I was like, is it black metal? Is it death metal? It doesn't really qualify to me as either, because it's also so repetitious that I'm like, it's like a hybrid black metal dance metal, which I don't know that that's a thing, but I've created it if it isn't. Because it has just, and when we get into it more, that was my biggest problem with the album, was just like, okay, we're building, and now we're going to do it again, and again,
Right.
and 7 more times.
Right.
I'm like, which is not what I expect from metal, it's what I expect from dance music, because very, very repetitious for the purpose of dancing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that it's dance. I mean, I get where you're coming from with saying that.
Like, I don't know who would dance to it.
Yeah,
but,
no, it's definitely not danceable.
Yeah.
No, I think this is the type of album that you get really fucking blazed and you just fucking let it vibrate your head, and then you're just sitting there like
stoner metal.
Yeah. Cause like I think that a lot of more modern black metal does this, like not all of it for sure. But like this isn't the first time I've listened to metal that kind of has that more like, how do I describe it? Like ambient, almost like sound design philosophy, where it's sort of just like, it's not so much trying to be a song as much as it's trying to just be a powerful soundscape that you're supposed to just like get lost in or whatever.
And maybe that's why it would be more black metal than death metal, because I think in death metal, while there's a lot of overlap in the style, musically, vocally, there's still that traditional metal sense where you're still making a song.
Right.
And this definitely had that sort of element to where I was like, all right, I'm bored with this sound. Give me something different. Like, we got a cool build up here. And I've never been a fan of that type of vocal, the black metal, death metal vocal. It's something that can accent. Like, it's great in an accent, but when that's your vocal style for your album, you kind of lose me. I'm like, does it take skill and talent to do that? Absolutely. Is it singing? I don't think I qualify it as singing.
It's not singing, yeah.
Narrowing the definition. Yeah.
It's a
and there's a talent to it. There's no question. Yeah. But it's not my cup of tea for what I want from my extended vocals. Like, it's great in accents, because sometimes it's there to convey an emotion or a feeling or move the song, or the story of the song.
Right.
But it's sometimes when there's too much of anything, even in music, especially in music because it's auditory. It's just like, all right, I need something to cut this. I need something to break this.
Right. No, yeah.
Especially with songs that were long. Like they
Right.
weren't short songs,
No, yeah, there's a
if
10
if we want
minute.
to call them songs, tracks.
There's a 10 minute. I mean, there's songs. I think the definition of a song is um
Yeah,
pretty loose.
yeah, yeah. I'll give you that.
Um I think these guys are Finnish.
They're definitely not North American.
No.
They're definitely European. They're definitely European of some kind.
Let's see. Finland, the Netherlands, Germany.
No, no.
It's somewhere in there. Um and definitely there's a lot of, I don't know what it is about that part of the world, the northern wastes, I suppose, that generates this kind of
This,
um,
yeah,
specifically just like really brutal, just, I don't know, like just metal, whatever. Like there's just so many like I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's
yeah.
so fucking cold. It's like the opposite. It's like
You
it's
got to
like
play music that keeps you really active, you know?
yeah. It's like the opposite for here is like there's a lot of angry music that comes out of Arizona because it's so fucking hot that everyone is just pissed off all the time. But it's like a
I mean,
completely,
and look,
go
I'll
ahead.
let you finish your thought.
Oh, it's a completely like different type of anger. It's more like a punk, I want to punch you in the face type of anger than it is like a slow brooding, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, in the United States, there's definitely a lot of. I mean, it always gets expanded, but in the '90s, you had the Northwest, Seattle. That was your grunge home, right? That's where grunge came from, was Seattle, Washington. The the sort of what became punk into pop punk of the '90s was California.
All
That
right.
was Green Day, Offspring. Those were all California. Not too far away from each other. I think Blink 182 had some California roots too. It all came from California. Your original punk, sort of the birthplace of American original punk, because you do have European punk too, was out of New York.
In New York, yeah. Like Velvet Underground, stuff like
So
that.
yeah, so it is interesting that whereas a lot of American rock and roll came out of the Rust Belt area, it came and that nearing the or almost around the Great Lakes, even you had a lot of it come out of Chicago, um, Chicago, Illinois. You had a lot coming out of Ohio in various parts of Ohio. So it was all interesting how music in the United States comes very regionally as far as styles, and then it obviously spreads after it's popular.
Right, yeah. No, yeah. I think it is interesting. Um,
And you
how
wonder if it's just temperature, political environment, what fact all those things factor in: environmental, socio-political, socioeconomic,
right,
how that.
and I mean to a certain degree, it is just like one person playing something that sounds cool, and then another person going, "Oh, that sounds cool. I want to do that too," and then having sort of just genres develop locally before anyone else hears about it, and then already having a scene for it before it gets popular, and then like one band gets popular and that helps other bands get popular.
Right.
um but yeah, no, I mean, I would like there to be some kind of scientific study on regional effects of on, sorry, on music, and like how weather affects music.
Yeah. It certainly affects what people listen to. We know that.
Yeah.
And mood you're in and weather affects mood. So there's definitely sort of the rainy day music, sunny day kind of like that's very much a thing. Not, I mean, that has never really impacted me so much, but I know that it very much exists.
Mm.
Just sort of like, when you're depressed, you listen to different music versus when you're in a good mood, or yeah, there's definitely those factors. But there's never been a mood for me when this was the kind of music I'm like, yeah, this is what I want to listen to. But I don't
I've
get
had
high either.
well, it's yeah. I mean, you do listen to music that's considered psychedelic, though.
I do. I do.
So it's not
Yeah.
necessarily that you have to get high. I don't think that was their explicit purpose upon writing this music necessarily.
No, I don't think so either.
But I could say I've been in this mood before. I It doesn't happen often that I'm specifically in this mood, the mood that this captures. Um, I think I probably was more at the beginning of the week when I was sick, and that's why I was looking for black metal. Because, I mean, this is sort of what I was looking for. Because there's definitely a large variation with metal, what you can
Oh
get.
yeah.
And I was definitely looking for something that was more rhythmic. You know what I'm saying? More like that's not exactly the right word. Something that's not based on like grooves and riffs and like playing solos and shit, and more
Right.
like just like a big
What?
wall of
And
sound, you know?
when you say rhythmic, that's, I mean, I think it's both appropriate and not necessarily
All right.
the word, because that's why I considered it, dance metal. It has, not that that's a thing, but it has that repetitive rhythm, that wall of sound that you're talking about.
All right.
That's,
It's
I think
definitely
that characterizes the album.
it's definitely a little too fast to be danceable, I think. Maybe if you slowed it down. But
I don't know.
playing
Maybe it's all this playing Cyberpunk 2077 that just this feels like the kind of music they're dancing to in the afterlife.
true. And that might have also been another inspiration because one of the radio stations in Cyberpunk is exactly this type of shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because yeah, you get into a car and it's always, I think it's a random radio station every time.
It is.
And
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes you get in and it's this shit. And I never change the radio station. Sometimes I'll turn it off if I'm trying to think. But I'll never I don't have like one that I'm like, this is the one that I always listen to.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely getting in the car and then just hearing
Yeah, I feel like in a cyberpunk world, people would be dancing to this music.
It's not so much that you dance to it as that it's being played in the club as you're all standing around sulking, right? And drinking. Because yeah, I don't think anyone hits the dance. I guess like if you took it, I mean, I've been to plenty of like goth dance stuff where people, you don't necessarily need, with a certain style of dancing, you don't necessarily need rhythm in the music if you're just kind of like, you know,
Right.
but yeah, you don't dance to this. I could see it being played in a bar, though, absolutely. Like a specific, I mean, not, I don't know, I guess bars do exist in the year 2020, it's just I don't go to them.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, I like, I don't know. It definitely captures a very specific vibe really well. Um, and I mean, clearly this kind of stuff is very popular. Um,
Yeah,
I mean,
and has been for a while.
yeah, it really has. Let's see. But like, yeah, I don't know. Not an everyday listen. I was pleased by this album, actually. I think that, I've heard way worse black metal before. Um,
Oh, I agree 100% on that.
like,
There were parts I enjoyed. I was just like, I could not say that I enjoyed a track in its entirety. I
yeah,
could say I enjoyed parts of the track and then was like, okay, that's enough.
they definitely, aren't committed to just being edgy genre standard. Like when the flute came in at some point, I was just
Mm-hmm.
like, "Damn, what?"
There was
Like,
some interesting percussion too that wasn't just, double bass and a traditional drum kit. There was other like Latin style percussion that comes in at one point.
right. So definitely it made the album a lot more interesting than it could have been. Because yeah, a lot of black metal albums can literally just be an hour of just the same shit. Which to a degree I can see why this would feel like that. Um but they at least tried to make it different. The vocals I so when the vocals are in the mix and everything's playing at the same time, I don't mind them. When they came in at the beginning in the first track, and there's not like a whole lot going on, and you can actually hear the full like timbre of
Mm-hmm.
the vocals, it sounds silly. Like it sounds
Mm-hmm.
like cartoonish. Which, I think a lot of vocals that are of that nature would, but it's almost like listening to like Megadeth or something, and they're making a weird voice, and it's supposed to sound edgy and cool, and it just kind of sounds silly. Um, but like when it's
Mm-hmm.
blended, when everything's fucking hitting you, and the vocals are not in the forefront, I think they're a lot better.
I agree.
But I definitely like screaming more than, I mean, okay, I'm not a huge screaming person, but I think I definitely, out of anyone in this Discord server, I think I'm probably the most screaming uh, friendly, the most screaming positive person. Because I do any bands that you go out of your way to listen to have any screaming in their music at all, really?
Rise Against is probably the only one where Tim will go into a little bit of screaming, not so much as much anymore as he did during earlier tracks, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it does get into some screaming. But other than that, that's probably the only band that I listen to that has that, you know, hardcore element to it where he gets into the screaming.
Right. Yeah, there you go. And no one else is here to speak for themselves, so so fuck them, fuck them. Um, oh, sorry, dead air. I had a burp. Um,
It happens.
let's see. What are the notes? I didn't take that many notes. The grooves were really strong. When they got locked into something, they could really just go. And sometimes the grooves themselves were really nice. Um, I can see why they might get tiring um, after a while if you're not into that kind of thing. But the actual like guitar work was pretty good, and
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't just a mess. Um, like this genre can be. Uh, yeah, those are really my only notes. Let's look at the tracks. I really couldn't tell you the difference between the tracks. When I look, and I mean, the fact that they're not in English definitely makes a
Makes
difference.
it harder. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not just that they're not in English. The language is
I
it's
believe it's Finnish. Hold on. I believe. Because Oranssi is orange. Yeah, from the Finnish word orange. So I believe that it's Finnish, which would explain how it's
yeah,
just.
I know no Finnish.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even know. I couldn't even say I know a Finnish person. Like with Finnish ancestry, sure, but like a person from Finland or who is like the child of an immigrant from Finland or speaks any level of Finnish or like I don't think I know anyone. I don't think I've been exposed to the culture at all in my lifetime. So any Finnish people out there, I welcome you to expose me to that culture a little bit. But yeah, I know nothing, literally, fucking nothing. Um, but these words look like the kind of crazy shit that they get up to up there with the
Yeah. Yeah, there
like
were
how many letters? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 letter words.
mhm.
Oikastimulate. Listen. Oika. Oikamilistin. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems to be closer to like a Russian style language almost than
Yeah,
it
yeah.
does to our our derived languages,
Yeah, it's one of those
which
crazy Northlander languages, you know what I mean?
but I you know, I thought for the most part there was definitely far too much repetition for me. That was my biggest
Mm-hmm.
issue. There was too much within any given song, but there were definitely parts of each track that like this is good, this is solid, great musicianship here, and then it doesn't go anywhere. There's no hook, there's no interlude, there's no. It's like a 6 minute long chorus,
Right. Well,
and there's parts where there is build up. Like you'll have the build up for a minute and a half, but it's like the build up should have been 30 seconds. And it's that's not when I say should have, I mean to my ear, not to the
right.
type of music they're trying to produce. That is this is consistent with what the type of music they're looking at producing. To my ear, it's like no, okay, I'm tired of this now.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I definitely kind of appreciate how this kind of music is just like fuck you to any kind of conventions. They're like, we're not gonna have a chorus or a bridge or any type of shit like that. We're just gonna play music. Um, and I appreciate that. I mean,
Right, like as it's almost like in some ways it's like all right, we decided to put our jams into song tracks because when we're jamming sometimes we repeat the same shit for 4 minutes at a time
right,
because we're just having fun, right? You're just grooving.
right.
And There is an audience for that.
Absolutely.
I like to play it. I don't like to listen to it. If it makes sense.
It's certainly a different experience playing and listening to.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't mind it. I don't mind it when I'm in a specific mood where I can zone out, because I zone out a lot. Um, so being able to channel that is nice for me. Um, and probably why I'm more tolerant of genres like this than you are. Um,
Right.
yeah, I yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're going for like a song structure. Well, I said that before. They're not. Um,
Yeah.
it's just about the vibe. It's pure vibes. That's all it is. It's just vibes. You're just supposed to get a mood. There's not like, it's a lot more abstract thought than what even like, like a pop song on the radio where it's trying to convey some specific thing,
Right.
like a story or something. It's not like that. It's
Right. And
just,
as you know, I can't stand pop music.
well, I'm saying that it's
I
different.
would rather listen to this than pop music.
Yeah, I'm saying it's different. Like, pop music is
Yeah.
specifically trying to
Yeah.
nail something, and
Absolutely.
this is the exact opposite. It's like just
Hmm.
abstract.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I could say that this is kind of what abstract art sounds like. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. How long have we been going? I feel like I've said everything there is to say.
Yeah. I think we've only
But
been
I
going like
also,
15, 20 minutes.
yeah, I
But
also
it's also.
haven't
Go
eaten a
ahead.
lot, so I'm low energy. I mean, I have food, just haven't eaten it. Um, anyway, what were you gonna say?
I'm Even though the tracks are long and the album length is significant because of the similarities and the
Mm-hmm.
few number of tracks, there's not as much to say, right? You're not commenting on the different dynamics of each track, because within each individual track there are some different dynamics, but it's not the same thing as somebody singing vocals about you know something socio-political and then singing vocals about their relationships. It's not that kind of dichotomy in instrumentation either.
Right,
There's that occasional part, like you said. There's a flute that comes in. The One of the parts I enjoyed the most is when some of that Latin percussion and that very Latin-esque feel comes in at the beginning of the song. But that just goes for a minute and a half, and then it transitions into a song that's more typical of the album.
right. And that synth in the first song, that was nice, because it was like
Mm-hmm.
super dissonant, and then a synth came in playing on key, and it was like both clashing and not,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a cool effect. I was like, wow, that's actually really neat. Um, yeah, I don't know. I guess I should have maybe had timestamps or something. That's the only way. Um,
Yeah, because I'm not gonna, with the track names. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce some of these.
yeah,
I will just butcher them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I suppose, I suppose that's just the nature of the music, is that there's just not as much to say, especially when there's only two of us. If there were four or
Yeah.
five of us, I have no doubt that we could go an hour and a half. Um, just being like, what do you mean? That was the best part. No, I hated
Right.
that part. Um,
Right.
like, uh, all right. Let's do ratings. I don't
Yeah.
I I'm hungry. So I kind of want to get this over with, as horrible as that is to say.
I'm having a slice of fresh French baguette right now
Mm,
because it just came out of the oven, and
yeah.
I want to try it while it's nice
Right.
and toasty hot.
Right. So listenability, controversial opinion,
Hmm.
super high. I think this is super listenable. Not necessarily in the like this sounds pleasant way, but in that this is designed for you to just sit there and just fucking zone out to it and just play it in the background, just have it on. So I'll say 7.5. Um, musicianship, I don't know. It was good. It's kind of hard to tell at some points. I'm gonna give it a 7.5 as well. Weird factor. That one's tough because the genre itself is weird compared to other genres, but inside the genre, this isn't that weird, but it is weird for the genre because of some of the shit that they added in. So let's say 8. Album cohesion, I almost want to give it a 10 because you could just put it on and fucking the whole album plays like it's one song basically. 9. Yeah, those are the 4.
So I agree. I'm pretty much agree with you with the exception of listenability. That's where I would diverge. I'd
I
be
figured.
literally I'm literally identical scores to you across the board with the exception of listenability.
Mm.
And I 100% concur on cohesion. But for me, I can't listen to that kind of music.
Right.
Like it doesn't. I generally don't like aggressive ambient music. Um,
That's a good way to
and when
put
I
it.
notice it, I'm like it's harder to just sort of get out of your head. So for me, like if it's hard because there are parts that are very well done, but in any single track, I'm like, all right, this is now unlistenable because it's just going on and it's droning.
Right.
So for that reason, I'd put it right at a 5 on listenability. Otherwise, I'm in agreement with you on all the other scores. I'd go right across the board the exact same way you scored it.
Nice. So
Overall,
overall, what is your overall?
overall for the album, I'd give it a 6.5. It's not my kind of music, but there's parts that are very well done. There's clearly some musical talent there,
Yeah.
and so I don't want to score it too low. But at the same time, I do have to consider my own personal tastes when giving the score. So
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
6.5
Yeah.
is a reasonable score for this one. How about you?
I'm gonna give it 1 up from that 7.5. I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
about a lot of the things that I've given a 7 to, and I like this better than a lot of those things, but
Mm-hmm.
not that much more. Like, I like it. It's not something I'm gonna be. We look like we're still good, so I don't know. Um, that'd be really unfortunate to disconnect right as we're doing fucking like the end.
Yeah, the
Uh,
end. Yeah.
um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could see myself getting high and just sitting there and listening to this. Like, I used to do that a lot more. I'd just sit in my car and not drive, just sit in my car for the car speakers and just be high and play like music similar to this because I find that with music that's rumbly and that has the kick drums and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
headphones just don't have the same effect
No,
as when you could feel it, like blah 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 blah. So when you're sitting in your car
you want to
and
feel the low end.
yeah, you could feel the low and physically feel it and not just hear it, it kind of feels nice, especially when, you're high and you can, you smoke the right thing to like amplify the sensation. You know what I'm saying? The right strain. Um, huh. I guess it did disconnect for a second. But that's fine. Um, what really matters is the YouTube clip. The Twitch VODs being separate doesn't matter.
Right.
And YouTube will, if it's like 10 seconds of disconnect, it'll still keep it as one. So I'm fine. So yeah, that's how I advertise for you to listen to it. Don't drive, though. Don't drive. Because if you're high enough for the vibrations to feel good, then you probably shouldn't be driving. So
Sound advice.
get to where you're going, and then do it. Yeah.
Preferably in your own driveway where you don't have to worry about.
Exactly. No cop. Well, that's not true. Not no cop is going to pull up on you in your driveway. Just, it's very, very unlikely. Depends on what neighborhood you live in, I guess.
Right. It's a much tougher case to make at that point where you're going somewhere. No, I live here. I mean, if you're not at home and you're in the driver's seat, well, you're trying to get somewhere eventually. Yeah, that makes it tougher. So yeah, I'd say definitely, preferably in your garage with the garage door closed and your engine not running.
Oh yeah, then they definitely can't get you then.
Yeah.
I mean, no, they can't, because for them to have gone into your garage, they'd have to have a reason to be in your garage in the first place. So
correct.
There's that separation. Yeah. Just park in your carport, put a sheet over the car where they can't see you, and then put the car cover over while you're inside. And if they can't see you, then they can't do shit. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, good album. Not life-changing, but good. Definitely different than what we've been listening to. Definitely wanted to change the pace a little bit. So,
not something we usually listen to.
Right. So, yeah, that's this low energy music club. And we're about, I think, 45 minutes in. But I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap it because I don't have anything else to say.
No, I think that covers the album. There's only 2 of us on a 6-track album, there's not.
That's true. So y'all have a good day. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to, yeah, I don't know. Like and subscribe, do all the things. There's a playlist with this, with more Music Club stuff. And I guess this is the last one of the year because next Saturday is in January. So, Happy New Year, I guess. And we'll see you in January with I don't know what, but I want it to be kind of special, but I also only have like a week to prepare it at this point, so can't be that special. And I don't even know who's going to show up, so we're not doing the tier list as fun as that would have been. Audience.